Hi, Mark Westcott. My topic today is, does your family stand at the front of the line when something happens to you in regard to the distribution of your estate?
Well, we would hope so, but what do we need to ask ourselves in relation to this?
Well, the question is, who is going to be at the front of the line when the estate is distributed? That's the key point to ask. Is it yourself, or is it going to be the banks and other creditors?
Why would we even consider this? Isn't it obvious?
Well, Sharon, the first responsibility is for the executors, the estate executors, to pay the debts. That's the first thing. So one of the first lines in the will is that the executors are responsible for paying debts. So banks, taxation department, creditors and so on are actually in front of you in the queue unless you structure things in a certain way.
I guess a lot of people don't even think of these bills or debts. So what are the main points to consider here?
Sharon, great questions, and this is a complicated area, but the first point is, how have you structured your asset ownership to ensure your family and loved ones aren't at the end of the queue fighting over the crumbs? The second point is, what have you done regarding your retirement, your superannuation beneficiaries, binding nominations and so on, to make sure those benefits go straight to family members instead of necessarily going through your estate? Third point is, are assets owned jointly or individually? Have you set up tenants in common or joint tenancy in regard to assets? And sometimes, depending on how you set it up, assets can transfer outside of the will. Fourth, have you insured your assets, and specifically, have you insured debts to make sure that you've got money there to pay out those debts, so there's money left for the family members and so on? And the fifth point is to think about whether assets are owned personally or if they're owned in a trust. And if they're owned in a trust, they, once again, don't actually go through your estate.
Okay, so what are the next steps we need to take?
Well, one of the key things we utilise in our process, using an outside specialist, is doing what we call a due diligence report. And part of our process, which is a legacy blueprint analysis, to look at all these issues and to be able to give you guidance in regard to how to best structure your own situation.
And by doing so, what is ultimately achieved?
Well, it's a great issue, this one, Sharon, and the worst case scenario is that your family could be left with cents in the dollars after the bank, the tax department, all other creditors are paid, and that's a worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that all your assets transfer first to your family members and loved ones. And the way we get that done is to look at utilising our Peace of Mind Plan program and going through the tools and capability and resources that we have to make sure that your family's at the front of the queue, not at the end of the queue.